You might have built a website before with Dreamweaver, FrontPage, or GoLive. These tools usually create what are called static websites. A static website is quite simple. Open up your web browser and type in a web address like www.lynda.com/index.html. A web browser is a piece of software that displays web pages from the internet like Internet Explorer, Firefox, Safari, Chrome, or Opera. The request for the web page goes from your computer, also called the client, to the web server. Server is a tricky word that means two different things. One is the hardware sense of the word. A server is a very powerful computer that is shared in some way. Server can also be used in the software sense. Server software is designed to serve up web pages. Apache and Internet Information Server, or IIS, are examples of server software that are compatible with Joomla. The term web server is frequently used interchangeably with the term web host. However, they are somewhat different. A web host is a service that offers web servers for your use. The server locates a page called index.html in its files for lynda.com, and then it sends a copy of this page back to the client. It also finds any associated images, CSS, Flash files, and JavaScript, and it sends those files along as well. The client and the web browser then display this page, plus the images and any other associated files. The system is static in that the page contains fixed content. The server simply picks the right page from the right location and sends it. There's no processing of that page required. You create the web page on your computer, the client, and you send a copy of those pages to the web server via FTP, the File Transfer Protocol. All the web server does is store those pages and send out copies of them as they're requested. A content management system, or CMS, is a very different thing than a static site. A CMS is a web application. This is software that runs on the server, and it does not run on the client. For example, Microsoft Word runs on your computer, the client. Google Docs, however, runs on a server. Both applications are designed to create and edit word processing documents, but the way they get that job done is very different. CMSs generally function in the same kind of way from a bird's eye perspective. The server software, middleware software, and database software may vary, but the way the functionality happens is all the same. So in the case of a content management system, you would have a procedure that goes something like this. Just like you did before, on the computer that's in front of you, the client, open up a web browser and type in a web address like www.samoka.org/index.php. Your computer sends a request for this page to the web server. The web server looks at its files and realizes the page you've requested is written in PHP, a programming language. The web server knows it can't send this page as is to the client. Some processing must be done to it first. So instead, the web server sends this request to PHP. PHP looks at the document and determines that some information needs to be pulled from the database and then processed. PHP, a programming language, is functioning as middleware in this way. This means that PHP mediates the discussion between the web server and the database. The server and the database can't talk to each other directly. They need a translator that can understand server speak and database speak. Other examples of programming language used in this kind of role include ASP and .NET, ColdFusion, Java, and Perl. A database is a collection of organized information. The database type that we will use in Joomla is called MySQL, but other types of databases include Microsoft SQL or Oracle. Access is a database that runs on your laptop and is not suitable to use in a website. A new feature in Joomla 2.5 is support for some Microsoft environments, including Windows Azure, the cloud platform that Microsoft offers. In addition to supporting Microsoft SQL Server 2008 and SQL Azure, Joomla 2.5 supports Azure Storage CDN and Azure Deployment. It also supports PostgreSQL, which is, of course, not a Microsoft product, but an open source database. The Microsoft products are beyond the scope of this particular lynda.com course, but you can learn more about Windows Azure and Web Matrix if you go to Microsoft's website. The database will then receive a request for information from PHP via a database query. The requested information is copied from the database and sent back to PHP. PHP arranges the database information in the way specified within the PHP code. The actual PHP code is stripped out from the page and replaced with plain old HTML, according to the instructions on that page. Now that the page is created and it consists of HTML and its associated files, like CSS and JavaScript, the entire package is now sent to the client to view. All of this happens in the blink of an eye. In order to run Joomla, therefore, you must have a web server configured with Apache or IIS, PHP, and MySQL, including the right versions of those pieces of software. You can check joomla.org for the latest requirements and recommended web hosts. So obviously a CMS is way more complicated than a static website. In fact, you may be intimidated by all of that technology running your website. Why are CMSs preferred over static websites? Because of the power of the database, websites are much easier to maintain with a CMS than they are with a static website, from the perspective of somebody who doesn't have a lot of technical knowledge. If you wish to make changes to a CMS website, you can change it without knowing any HTML, PHP, MySQL, or anything else, which means that your average customer can easily create new pages, link them to menus, change content, and make other updates without talking to you at all. In a world where we increasingly integrate photo galleries, calendars, social media, news feeds, blogs, and other dynamic information, and we require that those websites be served up in a format that's suitable for PC or Mac as well as mobile devices, a CMS becomes more important due to the ease of integrating all of these features into a single website. If you still feel like a CMS is complicated, don't panic. This movie is as geeky as the rest of this title gets. Keep watching, and you'll start to feel more comfortable with Joomla very shortly.